Shabbat Shalom. We decided to do this taping outside today because of the theme of flood that has been dominating the news lately, and I wanted to be particularly standing beside the normally placid Assiniboine River, which is not so placid these days, especially for folks to the west of us. However, we've seen levels of the Assiniboine River outside of Shaarey here that haven't been seen in many, many years. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this theme of flood in Judaism. Everyone, of course, knows the story of Noah's flood and the destruction of all life except that which was able to survive on Noah's Ark, and how life had to start all over again at that time, according to the Bible. And there's also a psalm that we chant actually every Friday morning, makes a reference to the flood in a very interesting way. It says, "The rivers may rise and rage, the waters may pound and roar, the floods may spread and storm, but above the crash of the sea and its breakers, awesome is the Lord our God. Your decrees, O Lord, never fail. Holiness befits your house for eternity." So what's the message here? I think we're talking about more than just physical flooding here, although physical floods certainly are part of the landscape, especially here in Manitoba these days, and they are a physical threat. But in Judaism, flooding is also a metaphor, and it's also a spiritual teaching. Flooding has this connotation in Judaism of creativity and chaos. And what is chaos if not creativity that has overflown its bounds in the same way that a river overflows its banks and can then do destruction in the immediate environment? So chaos and creativity have this very odd kind of relationship where if we're too creative or if things are too disorderly, we end up with a destructive situation. At the same time, life cannot live without creativity. Life cannot live without rivers and lakes and waters flowing within their proper boundaries. So there has to be a kind of balance between chaos and creativity. And this brings us to the temple ritual, particularly at the time of Sukkot, when it was believed the world is judged for water, particularly rain from heaven. But in the concept of the ancient world, there was water from above as well as water from below. And so it was believed that the temple in Jerusalem was sited at a point of maximum creativity, where if one made libations and poured water into the temple altar, which apparently had channels that were drilled down into the bedrock underneath, one could actually raise the waters that flow underneath, these metaphorical waters of fertility and creativity. And so by pouring the water on the altar, it was believed that they could raise the waters of fertility and creativity enough to influence the crops not only in Israel, but the fertility of the entire world. At the same time, they had to be careful not to raise the level of these waters from below too much, or else you'd end up with flooding and chaos. You'd end up with creativity out of control. So this is a lesson for human life, that yes, there is a time for floods of creativity, and there is a time for these floods to be kept within boundaries, and for that very, very fine balance to be maintained in life, where we don't get too creative, because if we do, we can lose all sense of order and all sense of progress and all sense of stability in life. At the same time, if we're too much concerned with stability and order and predictability, we stifle creativity, we stifle fertility, and we risk losing ourselves to the forces of death. So, as you read the morning headlines, hopefully the flood will be kept more or less under control in the coming weeks, and things will return to more or less normal here in Manitoba and along the banks of the Assiniboine, certainly. But at the same time, we need this water. The world needs water. We need creativity. We need those waters that flow from below or from within in order to maintain a proper relationship with God and with life as a whole. So wishing you a Shabbat Shalom and a dry summer.